Hi, welcome to the Utopian Seed Project Kitchen. My name is Chef Terri Terrell. Today we are going to make a popular egg dish called shakshuka. Now shakshuka is really popular in Israeli and Northern African cuisine. Most often it's red, made with tomatoes and peppers, but this version is going to be green and it's going to be vegetarian. Many times when you cook greens, especially collard greens, it is done with ham hock. And this time, to get that smokiness that you get from ham hock, we're going to introduce miso, we're going to introduce smoked paprika, and some other spices, since we're keeping it vegetarian, to really find that depth of flavor that you get from these different spices and miso to give it that umami flavor. So today, like I mentioned, we are going to start with making a vegetarian version of collard greens, which will go into our shakshuka. So we enjoy our greens around here, and so I thought it'd be fun to highlight all the greens that we have currently right now. We have a plethora of those, but specifically also treating it in the way that we do collards. So first I would just want to kind of show y'all what we have here. I've sliced some onions very thinly in kind of a moon shape. As you can see, you just cut the onion in half, and then you peel it, and then you just thinly slice the onions. So to start, I've got this pot on medium heat. And what we're going to do is we are going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. You're going to let that olive oil come up to temp, and you'll notice that temp when it starts to shimmer a little bit. So as it's starting to shimmer, which it is now, we're going to add in our onions. And so when we add in the onions, we're going to let these soften for about 3 to 5 minutes. Just want to stir them around a little bit, get them coated in that olive oil. And I like to use a sweet yellow onion, and a lot of times I like to use Vidalia onions as well. That's just a good little sweeter flavor, but it's fine if you want to use white onion. I've even used red onion before, so anything will work in the onion world. Alright. Now that those have become a little soft, now we're going to add in our spices and flavors and really let those kind of flavors kind of penetrate into those onions, to get kind of a really nice depth of flavor that we're looking for that normally you would get from the ham hock, but instead we're going to keep it vegetarian. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to add all of our spices. So first we have smoked paprika right here. Got 2 tablespoons of that is going to go into here. Next we're going to add 2 tablespoons of garlic powder, which is going to go into there. And then I like to use Urfa chili flakes. Now, maybe not, you don't have access to Urfa chili flakes, which is just fine. You can also use red pepper flakes. But if you do have Urfa chili flakes, I also feel like it just gives it just a unique flavoring, the umami kind of depth that goes into that. So right now, I'm just going to stir that around. Smells really good. Now, something I talk a lot about in my videos is always being sure to season as you go along, like season your layers and stuff. So right now, I'm going to add just about a teaspoon of salt into this. I'm going to keep stirring that around and let these cook down for about, I don't know, maybe another minute or so. You'll kind of know when it's ready. You kind of it gets really fragrant, and you can be like, oh, which is happening right now. All right. So now what we're going to do, now that that has simmered for about 3 to 5 minutes, and we've let the other flavors kind of impart on there for another minute, we're going to add our vegetable stock. Once again, we're keeping it vegetarian. So this is 4 cups of vegetable stock that's going to go into the pot. And we're going to bring that up to a boil. And while we're getting that up to a boil, I'm kind of going to just show you how to prepare the collard greens to go into the pot. And so I have already prepared the lamb's quarters. I've already done the mustard greens. I've already done the turnip greens once again. Those have already been kind of prepared, but specifically I want to show you about the collard greens. So you don't necessarily want this part of the stalk in there. If you do, it's fine too. My grandmother never peeled her collard greens, just so you know. But I do, just for texture purposes, I just kind of take off them from the stem, and they kind of just peel away, to be honest. There's not really any difficulty to get that off. And you can also, just so you know, I'll move my stuff here. If you don't want to do that, you can kind of just cut on that stem. And it doesn't have to be all the way up to the top, just kind of that thick part, because it can be a little fibrous on that end. But just kind of get like that. And then super simple, everybody. You just kind of tear it, rip them into kind of small little pieces. Like that. Let's do a few more. I always loved sitting with my grandma. We actually would sit on the porch, kind of like when you do string beans and stuff, when you're out there with your iced tea. We would do this with collards also. We'd sit outside and I'd help her prep them before she put them in the big pot. And I'm sure you all know this, but one of my favorite parts of cooking collards is the pot liquor. I'm a big fan of pot liquor in any way I can get it, no matter what. And collard pot liquor, as you know, is one of the mother sauces in the South. And if you didn't know it, you know it now. So anyway, we've got our collard greens. Once again, just tearing them with my hand. They're pretty resilient, so you're not going to bruise them or hurt them by doing this. All right. So now I've got this boiling. I've got my mixture up to a boil. Ah, it smells so good. There's a lot of smoky flavor, or excuse me, smoky kind of scent coming through because of that smoked paprika, which is really what we want. All right, so now what we're going to do, we're going to place our collards and all of our other greens into the pot. And we're going to let these cook for about 30 minutes or so. Now, some people, you may want to go longer. You may want to go 45 minutes. You may want to go an hour. I actually like mine not too mushy or not too far cooked, especially for this dish, because you're going to continue to cook it when we put it together to make the shakshuka, when we put the eggs in it. And so I would suggest keeping it at 30 minutes, but unless you want to cook it longer, you totally can. And also something to mention, say you had collard greens the night before. This is a great way to use leftover collard greens because they can go right into the pan that I'm going to show you here in a few minutes. But yeah, it's just another way to use leftovers as well. I actually do that a lot these days, as I'll make shakshuka after I've had collard greens or any kind of greens the night before. All right, so now we're going to let those cook for about 30 minutes, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how to prepare the shakshuka dish. Hi, welcome back. All right, now that our collard greens have cooked for about 30 minutes, we're going to go ahead and we're going to assemble the shakshuka. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take from my pot of potato greens, as we like to call them here, I'm going to take enough to fill this cast iron. So you can use a cast iron or any type of saute pan that you would like, but fill it about halfway up around the sides. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit, a little lower heat. Alright, so as you can see, I have filled up the pan with that, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this pot liquor and we're going to put that into the pan as well, these juices. So a lot of times, traditionally, when you use the red tomatoes and the peppers, you're going to get a lot of liquid from those tomatoes. And so this pot liquor is kind of taken the place of what traditionally would be the tomato juice that comes from cooking down the tomatoes. And so, that smell. All right, so as you can see, we've got a nice little simmer going there. I'm gonna move this out of the way. So you're probably gonna always have some leftover greens. So you can use those in another method, or however, or excuse me, not a method, but you can use those in other ways, you know, for dinner later on tonight or something else, but undoubtedly you'll probably have a little extra left over. All right, so now with shakshuka, what you do is basically we are going to poach an egg in this liquid and in the greens. And so what we want to do is we want to make little wells, so to say, so the eggs can nest really tucked in there. And so we're going to make these wells with this spoon. And for this, I've got about 6 eggs here. We'll see if they all fit in there. And what we're going to do is we're just going to crack an egg into each little well that I just created. Beautiful. So now what we're going to do is sitting here on a low simmer, and basically we're just going to cook these until the whites are almost done. All right, and so we're going to just take our lid, put that over top. This should take maybe about 5 minutes for them to really get a nice kind of soft white around them, the eggs just a little bit cooked. But we want to keep them kind of in the style of poached as opposed to hard or anything like that. All right, so it's been about 5 minutes, and I just took a peek, and we're ready. Oh my goodness, so beautiful. I'm gonna turn off my little stove here. And now I'm just gonna show you how I would kind of garnish this and add some stuff to it. And typically what I do is I'll take this and I'll set it in the middle of the table, and everybody can kind of help themselves, or you can just plate it up individually. But right now, what I'm going to add is just some herbs, some green onions, and a little goat cheese, and a little hot sauce. You can actually add anything you really want. Also, sometimes I'll actually add a little red pepper flake as well. I like mine a little spicy. So first off, let's take a little goat cheese, and let's just sprinkle that about. Feta works great too for this, just so y'all know. All right, whoops, there we are. I'm gonna wipe off my fingers here. And next we're gonna add some herbs. Today I just have some parsley, but a lot of times I'll put dill, cilantro, kind of really any kind of herb you have in your garden or anywhere you want. I'll just stick that a little bit on top. And then green onions. I think green onions are pretty important to this dish. I think it really, goes nicely with our green theme here. And then personally, I love Louisiana hot sauce, specifically Louisiana. So I take that and I just do a little bit of drizzle, kind of around on here. It also gives it a nice little color, little red kind of happens in here. Then I'm going to add just a little bit of red pepper flake on top. Once again, you don't have to. I just like things just a little bit more spicy on there. And then last, I'm going to add a little salt and pepper. This is just some fresh ground pepper. Use whatever you like. All right. So here's the dish. This is a spring green shakshuka. Just want to thank you all for joining me today and cooking this green shakshuka with me, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Have a great day.